Hey guys, Chris here from Carolot Farm. I'm so excited. I am out in our spring garden today. We've just done the first till here on just a very small portion, but I'm getting ready to plant our spring potatoes. Like a lot of you, I imagine, we have just come out of a really harsh winter. We didn't see the ground for 4+ weeks. Everything was covered in sleet and ice, but once all of that finally melted, we had some really warm weather and the ground quickly warmed, and so now it's the perfect time to get out here and to really start planting in earnest. Before I start planting my potatoes, I want to say just a few things about these. One, I sort of always heard that it was best practice to plant your potatoes around St. Patrick's Day. Technically, that was yesterday, so I'm a day behind, but we were very busy yesterday helping our daughter move into her new apartment. So today, I'm out here in the garden and I have my seed potatoes. But the second thing I want to mention is these potatoes were quite large for seed potatoes. And so we have actually cut them in half and we let them dry out for about a week, a little more maybe. And now that the soil is prepared and the potatoes have dried a touch, it's time to pop these puppies into the ground. We still have a lot of cleaning up to do. I've got some old cardboard over there, just piled. All those little remnants have just been blown over towards the fence, and that's where they sit. I'm going to clear those out at some point, lay down new cardboard. But the potatoes here, my plan is to put them right here along this long stretch or this end of the garden. Because potatoes take a while to grow, we do like to have them at the edge of the garden, and we tend to put them in 1 or 2 long rows side by side. It makes it easier to water them, and they can just kind of sit and do their thing. Come midsummer, it might be time to harvest them. So that's the plan for the potatoes. I think I have about 15 seed potatoes that we cut in half, which gives me around 30. So I am probably looking at doing 2 rows side by side right here at the edge. Because we have only had time for a first till this season, there is a lot of weed debris that I'm working to remove. As I use my hand, I get the majority, but then when I come back with the rake to smooth things out, I'm able to find a few more clumps and remove those as well. I've just finished pulling all of the large clumps of weeds out, and I've given it a little rake, and I think it looks pretty good. As I finish up preparing my bed, I'm finding a few shiny pieces of tape that have come off of my cardboard, which I used to line paths with last summer. So I'm going to remove those pieces of tape. I also see little teeny remnants of cardboard in my bed, which is great. They'll continue to break down. And there's a lot of manure that we turned in as well. So I'm hopeful that this will be some pretty happy soil. I've got my potatoes laid out in 2 rows, like I told you, and now I'm just gonna plant them 4 to 6 inches deep. I should also say I've spaced them about 1 foot apart. I have also chosen to place my potatoes slightly to the inner portion of the bed here. They will get very leafy in the summer, and I don't want them to be hanging over the path or encroaching on the neighboring beds. Another thing I want to mention is that I have put stakes at the end of my potato rows. This will help me know exactly where to water so I can water the potatoes and not the whole bed. My garden soil here is very, very soft. So I've got a good size hole here. I'm just going to plant my little seed potato. I'm going to have the cut side down, and all that's left now is just to gently cover it up. And as they start to grow, sometimes we have to add more soil on top of them, but this should be good for a bit. The reason you'll want to cover them is as they grow, the potatoes kind of move up towards the ground and the ground settles around them. And if your potatoes are exposed to the sunlight, they'll start to turn green. They're not going to hurt you, but they're not as pretty. So it's always good to start covering them when you see them beginning to kind of move upwards and peek through the soil. After I walked off the pathway right here at the edge of my potatoes, I was left with this perfect bed right here. It's directly beside my winter cauliflower, which doesn't look so hot, but I'm going to put my collards here. I just can't resist this perfect opportunity. My husband started these from seed on February 1st, so they've had about 1.5 months to grow indoors. They look fantastic, so they're going to hop into the garden today. I have laid my collards out here. I do like to stagger my plants especially when I'm planting larger plants such as this. So now that I've got my spacing, all that's left to do is put them in the ground. Easy peasy. You can see these collards have a very robust root structure. They were a bit root bound, I would even say. But we did not want to plant them a week or two ago when they were mature enough because we had a cold snap. So now into the ground they go. They have survived and they will be so happy in the ground. Thank you so much for joining me today here in the spring garden. I had a blast. You know, I got those seed potatoes in. We got our collard plants here in the ground. Last week I planted kale. The week before I planted my sugar snap peas. And then the asparagus bed got tons of attention a few weeks back. So I feel really good about the state of things, being as it's now the middle of March. Check back soon though. We'll have tons of updates and we hope to see you in the future. Bye guys.